friends, how are you doing today? Today is going to be our third lesson of our distance learning. Again, you can have all of these papers printed out while you watch the video, but you do not need them in order to watch the video. All you'll need is a piece of paper and some lined paper. So if you have those, you're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our morning message. So today, we're gonna learn something new. Dear first graders, did you have a fun weekend? What is something you did this weekend? This week, we are going to learn why an author writes their books. Love, Mrs. Labbate. All right, so before we get started on why authors like to write their books and for what reason, let's look at our morning message. First thing I want us to look at is question sentences. So how do we know if it's a question sentence? Sometimes we know by the mark at the end of our sentence. It's called a question mark. So I see this question mark, so that should tell me this whole sentence is a question sentence. And if I go through, I'm scanning through my morning message, I see another question mark. That tells me it's a question sentence. So another way that we can tell if it's a question sentence is by how it starts. Is it a question word? So this question sentence, if we follow it back to where it starts with did. And did is a question word. When you start a sentence with did, it usually asks something. Did you have fun? Did you do your homework? Those are all questions, and we can tell by it starting with a question word. All right, if we look at our other question sentence, follow it back, we see it starts with what. What is also a question word. So if you start a sentence with, what are you wearing? What color is that? That's asking a question. And it all starts with the word what. Those are some of our question words. Can you think of some of our other question words? If you can, I want you to write them down. I'm going to think, I'm going to think back to our classroom where we had that big, huge question mark up on our wall, and we wrote all our question words down. We wrote, we could have who, like, who is that over there? Who are you talking to? Those are all questions and starts with who. Who, what, when. You probably ask this all the time. When is dinner? What time are we going to get there? Where are we going? That goes to our next one, where. Another word that starts a question sentence. So we have who, when, where, what, did. We could also use can. Can I have some more? Can we go to the park now? Those are all question words. So I want you to try and come up with your own question sentence on a piece of paper. It could be a simple sentence like, why is the sky blue? Anything that pops into your head, I want you to try and use some of our question words. All right, next thing we're going to look at in our morning message is our compound words. Now, you might not remember, but a compound word is two words pushed together to make one new word. So, we're going to look at the compound word, something. Now, something is made of two words. We have the word some, and we have the word thing. Those are two separate words, because I can use some all on its own, like some people like the color red. And I can use the word thing all on its own. That thing thing over there is really weird. But when I push them together, it becomes something, which is its own word. And we call that a compound word. All right, I'm going to look through and I'm going to see if we have any other compound words. What about this one? Weekend. Do you know the two words that make up the word weekend? I see the word week and the word end. Two are different words. So week, we have the days of the week, and then we have end, like the end of a story. Those are two different words that we smush together, and we create the word weekend. And we know what a weekend is. That's Saturday and Sunday. That's what we call a weekend. So that creates a whole new word with a whole new meaning. And so those are some of our compound words. Now, if you got our lesson printed out, you'll find that I included a worksheet that you can work on your compound words. If not, you can always look up on Google compound word activities. But what you're going to do is you're going to cut out all of these little boxes and you're going to glue them so that they make the right words. Like back bird, not a real word, but backpack is. So you're going to try and make your compound words. Now if you hear barking in the background, that's just my little puppy. We're just going to ignore him for right now. All right, so that is our morning message. Good job, guys. Now we're moving on to what I talked about. We're going to be learning about why an author writes their stories. Now, we call this author's purpose. Now, if you printed out the lesson, you'll have a page that says author's purpose. We're going to use this with our reading today. Shh. Shh. So, we're going to try and figure out the reason why an author writes a book. What is he trying to do? So, we're going to learn about the 3 reasons that an author might write a book. All right. Get this to stay straight. All right. So, there is 3 reasons, and we're going to call this the pieces of the pie because it spells P-I-E, pie. And that means that the author might choose to persuade you, he might want to inform you, or he might want to entertain you. And we're going to watch a quick video to see why an author might use these 3 pieces of the pie. I'm going to pull it up.
Author's purpose. It's as easy as pie. Persuade, inform, entertain. The author's purpose is the reason an author has for writing. An author writes to persuade, inform, or entertain their readers. Persuade. The author is trying to get you to do or feel a certain way. We will read the true story of the 3 little pigs in class. Inform. The author is giving facts, directions, or information, such as your math textbook and these other books. Entertain. The author is telling a story to make you feel a certain way, happy, sad, curious, scared, or other feelings, just like in those books.
So after watching the video, you can see that the author can have 3 different reasons for wanting to write a story. The first one we're going to learn about today is persuade. Persuade means that the author is trying to change your opinion. Now, you can either follow along and draw this on your own sheet of paper, or you can just listen as I talk. So persuade means to change your opinion. The author is trying to get you to believe or to do something. That's the first piece of our pie. And we're going to read a story today that talks all about persuasion. Are they trying to persuade the characters to do or persuade us to do? But we're going to go through each piece of the pie and then we'll get to our reading. So the next one we're going to learn about is inform. Now we read a lot of informational text at the beginning of the year. We studied animals. And with all those animals, we read books that gave us facts. That was to inform. So an author wrote those books to inform us, to teach us. So to inform means to teach something. Or like I said, to give facts. So that's what it means to inform the reader. And the last one we're going to talk about is entertain. Now we read a lot of entertaining books in class. You might remember Splat the Cat or Chicken on Vacation that I read last week. These are books that entertain because they make you laugh and they make you smile. And when a book does that, it's called entertain. So that's the author's purpose, was to share a funny story. So, to entertain is to make you laugh. Now, it can also be to make you sad or to make you mad. It's to make you have a different emotion. But many of the books that we read are to make us laugh. So I'm going to keep it as to make us laugh. And that's how we know it's a book to entertain. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and read to you. We're going to read a couple different books that either persuade, inform, or entertain you. Let's see if we can figure out what was the author's purpose behind this book. So, first one I'm going to do, it should be easy. Animals that build their homes. Now, just looking at this book, why do you think the author wrote this book? Was it to persuade us? Are they trying to make us do something? Are they trying to inform us? Are they trying to teach us or give us facts? Or are they trying to entertain us, make us laugh? So this is animals that build their homes. I'm only going to read a little bit of it because after a while I think we'll understand what it is. A mother beaver watches over her sleepy babies. The babies are safe and warm inside their house. Beavers build their homes in the water. To build a house, the beaver cuts down trees with its sharp teeth. Then it piles the wood in a pond. Soon the pile is so big it sticks up out of the water. A beaver swims into its house. The doorway is underwater, but the beavers live in the dry room above the water. Some animals live in the open. Some live in trees or caves. And some animals, like the beaver, build their own homes. All right, do you have an idea of what the author's purpose is? Let's read a little more. A young prairie dog slides down a tunnel into a tiny room. There it will join its brothers and sisters resting on a bed of grass. A prairie dog makes its home by digging a burrow in the ground. It carries soft grass down into the home and makes a cozy nest. Wow, I'm learning a lot about beavers. And if I'm learning something, I think I have an idea of which piece of the pie it is. Other animals dig their homes in the ground too. A badger peeps out from the doorway of its underground home. There's a dirt on the badger's nose because it has been digging. The badger is a champion digger. It can dig much faster than a person with a shovel. It uses its strong, sharp claws and its pointed snout. A chipmunk comes out of its burrow and looks around. It lives in a nest in the ground all winter long. When something scares it, down it goes. Soon it will be out of sight. All right, so I'm going to stop there because this is a big book that talks all about these animals. But I can say that this book taught me something. It was teaching me about beavers and badgers and chipmunks. Now, if it's going to teach me something, I can look and I see the word teach under the inform pile. So I know that this book tried to teach me something. It tried to inform me. All right, now we're going to read another book. This is called Duck on a Bike. Do we have an idea of what it could be? We already know it's not inform, because inform means to teach you something. It wants to give facts, and this doesn't look like it's going to give me any facts. So it could be either persuade or to entertain. Let's see. Duck on a Bike. One day down on the farm, Duck got a wild idea. I bet I could ride a bike, he thought. He waddled over to where the boy parked his bike, climbed on, and began to ride. At first he rode very slowly. He wobbled a lot, but it was fun. Duck rode past Cow and waved to her. "Hello, Cow," said Duck. "Moo," said Cow. But what she thought was, a duck on a bike? That's the silliest thing I've ever seen. Then Duck rode past Sheep. "Hello, Sheep," said Duck. "Bah," said Sheep. But what she thought was, he's going to hurt himself if he's not careful. Duck was riding better now. He rode past Dog. "Hello, Dog," said Duck. "Woof," said Dog. But what he thought was, that is a mighty neat trick. Then Duck rode past Cat. "Hello, Cat," said Duck. "Meow," said Cat. But what she thought was, I wouldn't waste my time riding a bike. Duck pedaled a little faster. He rode past Horse. "Hello, Horse," said Duck. "Nay," said Horse. But what he thought was, you're still not as fast as me, Duck. Duck rang his bell as he rode towards Chicken. "Hello, Chicken," said Duck. "Cluck, cluck," said Chicken. But what she thought was, watch where you're going, Duck. Then Duck rode past Goat. "Hello, Goat," said Duck. "Mah," said Goat. But what he thought was, I'd like to eat that bike. Duck stood on the seat and rode past Pig and Pig. "Hello, Pig," said Duck. "Oink," said Pig and Pig. But what they thought was, Duck is such a show-off. Then Duck rode no hands past Moose. "Hello, Moose," said Duck. "Squeak," said Mouse. But what he thought was, "I wish I could ride a bike just like Duck." Silly goose. Oh, goodness. Suddenly, a whole bunch of kids came down the road on bikes. They were in such a hurry that they didn't see Duck. They parked their bikes by the house and went inside. Can you find Duck? Oh my goodness! Now all the animals had bikes. They rode around and around the barnyard. "This is fun," they all said. "Good idea, Duck." Then they put the bikes back by the house, and no one knew that on that afternoon there had been a cow, a sheep, a dog, a cat, a horse, a chicken, a goat, 2 pigs, a mouse, and a duck on a bike. What a silly, silly story. The end. Now, I hope that you can easily figure out what the purpose of this story was. Why did David Shannon write Duck on a Bike? Well, we know he wasn't giving us facts because I didn't learn anything new about animals or those farmyard friends. Was he trying to change my opinion? Was he trying to get me to do something? No, he didn't say that I needed to ride a bike. Did he make me laugh? He did. Because that's so silly, farmyard animal. All right, so now that we've read a story that informs and a story that entertains, the next story we're going to read is To Persuade. Now, this story doesn't make us change our opinion, but it will use the characters to show how we can persuade someone else. So this is called Clack Moo, Cows That Type. Farmer Brown has a problem. His cows like to type. All day long he hears click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. At first he couldn't believe his ears. Cows that type? Impossible. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Then he couldn't believe his eyes. Dear Farmer Brown, the barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn. Now they wanted electric blankets? No way, said Farmer Brown. No electric blankets. So the cows went on strike. They left a note on the barn door. Sorry, we're closed. No milk today. No milk today, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard the cows busy at work. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. The next day, he got another note. Dear Farmer Brown, the hens are cold too. They'd like electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. The cows were growing impatient with the farmer. They left a new note on the barn door. Closed. No milk, no eggs. No eggs, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard them. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Cows that type, hens on strike, who ever heard of such a thing? How can I run a farm with no milk and no eggs? Farmer Brown was furious. So notice that the cows are using the typewriter to try and persuade the farmer to get electric blankets for them because they're cold at night. So they're saying, I won't give you any milk or I won't give you eggs until we get our electric blanket. He's trying to make them do something. He's trying to make the farmer do something so that they get their way. That's called persuade. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. Now, if you have the sheet that was printed out in the lesson, it's called Author's Purpose. What I want you to do is I want you to write the title of one of our books that we read today. So you can use Animals That Build Their Homes. You can use our Duck on a Bike. Or our Clack Moo. And what I want you to do, you don't need to write down the author of these books, but if you could write down the title. Now, if you don't have this sheet printed out, that's okay. You can use a normal piece of paper and just write down the title of one of our books today. You can pause the video and copy down one of our books. So we might use Duck on a Bike. That's the story we're going to use. And it asks, why did the author write this story? Was it to inform, to entertain, or to persuade? And how do you know? So on these lines, if you have this paper, I want you to answer. How do you know that the author was trying to either inform, entertain, or persuade? So with Duck on a Bike, how do we know that he wanted to entertain us? What is something that you heard from the story that made you think it was entertaining? That made you think that the author was trying to make you laugh? So that's on your piece of paper. I want you to write down at least one sentence to tell me how you know which reason it was that the author wrote the story. And that's our reading lesson for today. Next, we're going to move on to our writing. So for writing, I want us to think back. If you have the sheet, you can use the sheet. If not, you can use a piece of lined paper. So for writing today, I want us to think about how we can inform our readers as the author. So, excuse me. So, earlier in the school year, we read a lot about animals. We chose our own animal to do a research project on. We read lots of books on our animals. We came up with facts for our animals. So today, I want you to use your brain and think really hard to see if you can remember any facts that you know about your animal. So, if you have this paper, you can write it on this paper. If you have lined paper, you can just write it on lined paper. First things first, name and date. So, like I said, we're going to write about our animal. So I want you to think really hard about that animal that you researched and studied all about. I'm going to think about my animal that I did. I did a bear. So I'm going to do a quick sketch of my bear, and then I'm going to start writing my facts. It's okay if your drawing's not perfect. Mine is not great. But I know it's a bear, so that's all that matters to me. So, now we're going to get started on our writing. Give me 1 second. Colt! Get out of there. Out. Out. Sorry, that was my dog. Alright, so I'm going to get started. I want to share all the facts that I know about my bear. So I might say, a brown bear lives in the forest. So I'm thinking about all of the facts that I learned about my animal, where it lives, what it looks like, what it eats, and maybe other fun facts that I learned. So I know that the brown bear lives in the forest. Bears are covered in fur. What else do I know about what they look like? They have sharp claws. What do they do with those sharp claws? Give me 1 more second. Hey, get out! Out! Sorry. Alright, they have sharp claws. They also have sharp teeth. And what do they use with those sharp teeth? They catch fish, I remember. Bears eat fish and berries. Alright, so now I can keep thinking of other facts that I know. I know that they hibernate. I know that they can have cubs. So today, for your writing, I want you to inform. I want you to be an author that informs your reader. And we know lots of animal facts about what we've studied, so I want you to write as many facts as you can about your animal. And that's what we're going to do with inform and with our writing today. When we get to our reading time, so just like our reader's workshop time, we're going to try and earn 2 steps today. That's 30 minutes of reading. And I want you to read to try and figure out the author's purpose. So I'm going to read a little book. There we go. Gotta find the right book. Alright, so I'm going to read Splat the Cat, the Big Helper. And I want to see what is the author's purpose of this story. Family meeting, Splat's father called from upstairs. We're a very busy family, Dad said. We all need to pitch in, so I've made a list of daily to-dos for you to check off each day. A to-do list, said Splat. He had a bad feeling about this. Splat's jobs were to make his bed, put away his toys, and water the plants. But, Splat sputtered, that'll take forever. If you do your little part, said Dad, it'll be a big help. Splat and Seymour went back to playing their game. After a half hour, Seymour pointed to the to-do list. We can do them later, Splat replied. New rule, Mom declared. No television or video games until everything is checked off your list. Oh, Splat moaned. Splat went to his room. It was a total mess. Let's get this over with so we can get back to our game, Seymour, he said. Splat made his bed. Then he watered his plants. He put away his toys. All done, Splat said proudly. Is this really your best? Dad said, shaking his head. But it will take forever, whined Splat. You know how they say that time flies when you're having fun, Splat's dad said. Splat nodded. He sure did. So make it fun, Splat decided to try. This time when Splat made his bed, he imagined he was fishing in the ocean. His pillow turned into a giant shark, and everything else on the floor became a different fish or sea monster. When he cleaned up his toys, Splat imagined that he was a pirate. Each toy was a jewel or gold coin, and his toy box was a treasure chest. When he watered his plants, he pretended he was a jungle explorer. All done. Great job, Splat, Dad said. Now you can play your video game, added his mom. As Splat sat down to play his video game, he noticed a few things that needed to be put away. I'll be right back, Seymour, he said. I've got to go on a quick Arctic expedition. He never imagined helping out could be so much fun. All right, so now I'm thinking, what was the author's purpose of writing Splat the Cat? And I thought it was a pretty entertaining story. So, and it made me giggle at some points with how he thought everything was an adventure. So I'm going to say that the author's purpose was to entertain. So you go ahead, you can pause the video here, and you can go read your stories and try and figure out what was the author's purpose behind that story. All right. Good job, friends. All right, so now we're going to move on into our math lesson. We're going to be reviewing what we learned last week about halves, quarters, and today we're going to learn about thirds. So before we get started on that, we're going to do our fluency. Now if you have the sheets printed out, you're going to look for the sheet that looks like this. And we're going to do our +5 and +6 facts. Now if you don't have the sheet printed out, that's okay. You can use a piece of lined paper. What we're going to do is we're going to do our +5 facts first. So you'll write +5 + 1 equals 5 + 2 equals 5 + 3 equals 5 + 4 equals, and you'll keep going down all the way to 20. Now I know it's a lot, but it's going to make us better mathematicians. All right, and then once we've written them all down, we're going to go through and we're going to answer them. So 5 + 1, 6. 5 + 2, 7. 5 + 3, Now if we get stuck, we could always use our math strategies. So that means we could try counting on. We're going to put the bigger number in our head, and then we're going to count up however much we're adding on. So we'll put 5 in our head, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I counted up 3 and I landed on 8. Let's try it again. We'll put 5 in our head. We'll count up 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 5 plus 4 equals 9. You could always try and use your magic math fingers, or you can do our circles to try and draw it out. All right, you're going to do the same thing with our 6 plus facts. So 6 plus 1 equals, 6 plus 2 equals, 6 plus 3 equals, and so on all the way to 6 plus 20. Again, put the big number in your head, and I want you to try and count on. So, but we should know 6 plus 1, 7, 6 plus 2, 8, 6 plus 3. I'm going to try counting on. 6, 7, 8, 9. So I counted up 3 and I landed on 9. And you're going to go all the way down, especially when you get to those big numbers like 18 and 19. I want you to try putting that big number in your head and then counting up. And it's going to be good practice. All right, we'll keep moving. If you have the lesson printed out, you can go ahead and do the word problem. But we're going to go ahead and learn about halves, quarters, and thirds. If you just need a piece of paper for us to practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our halves. If you can remember, a half is when we split a shape into equal parts, 2 equal parts. So if I have a circle and I want to split it into 2 equal parts, that means they're going to be the same size parts. I need to draw a straight line so that I have equal parts. And if I have a square, I want to draw a straight line so that I have equal parts. That's halves. They're 1/2 and 1/2. So each part is called a half. So if I have a shape like this, and I want to look at how much is colored in, well, I'm going to think back to how many parts is it split into? It's split into halves. And how much is colored in? Only 1/2 is colored. Now, if both of them were colored in, that'd be a whole. Because when it's the whole piece, we call it the whole. So we only have half of it colored in right now. Let's move on to quarters. Alright, so if I have a shape like this, quarters, remember, means to split into 4 pieces. And they need to all be equal. So I could go straight across and straight up and down. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. And we call that a quarter, or 1/4. So each one of these boxes is 1/4. So if I had my shape split into 4ths, and it was colored like this, I would say 1/4 is colored in. Now, if I had a shape like this, again, it is split into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and they're about the same size, so I'm going to call those equal. And I had it colored like this. Now, are all the pieces colored in? So it's not a whole piece colored in. We have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So how many fourths do we have colored in? We have 1, 2, 3 parts colored in. That's 3 out of the 4 parts. Because remember, we split our box into 4 parts. So that's our bottom number. So we have 3 of them that are colored, so we call that 3/4, because 3 out of the 4 pieces are colored in. And just like we would say 1 part out of the 4 pieces are colored in on here. So we call that 1/4. All right, so now we're going to learn about thirds. Well, can you make a guess on what thirds will look like? I have a box, and it's split into just 3 pieces, and that's our thirds. So each part is considered 1/3. So if I have a box, and I have this much colored in, how many parts are colored in? 1, 2, out of how many parts? 1, 2, 3 in all. So this is 2/3, because 2 parts out of all 3 are colored in. So, and this is going over our halves, quarters, and thirds. All right, so, and if you're at home, you'll see that I have added a sheet, oh, I don't know where it went, that works with our halves, wholes, quarters, and thirds that you can work on at home. If not, if you can't get that sheet printed out, I just want you to practice. So I'll show you right now. I want you to draw a circle or a square. I want you to draw another one. And I want you to split them both in half. I want you to split. And then on your first circle, color in 1/2 of that circle. So that is 1/2 colored in. Now I want you to go look at your second circle, and I want you to color in both halves. Now, I want you to think, how many parts did you color in? You colored in 2 out of how many are in all? 2. All right, so that's working with halves. Next, I want you to draw 2 squares. And I want you to split those into 4ths. Make it kind of look like a window or a present. Now I'm going to have you do this on your own. The first one, I want you to show me what 1/4 looks like colored in. So how many boxes am I going to color in to show 1/4? On your second box, I want you to show me 3/4. Think back to our earlier. So how many boxes am I going to color in to show 3/4? All right, last one. You can draw circles or boxes. I'm going to draw circles again. And we're going to do thirds. Now, with thirds on a circle, it's a little more difficult. You got to do like a Y inside to make it equal. So I might suggest you draw boxes and split into 3 parts like that. So again, I want to see 1/3 colored in, and then I want to see 2/3 colored in. How many parts am I going to color in to show 2/3? All right, so if you don't have our worksheet, go ahead and use this for help, and go ahead and fill this out for me for extra practice. All right. That's all for today. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a lot. And I will see you in a couple of days for our next lesson. Bye.